My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We are officially now live and everything.
Oh.
Yes, and how you doing tonight? How you doing tonight, beautiful?
Good. Now that I finally got on here, I have you propped up against the paper towel holder. So, quite the professional setup here.
Oh, no. Look, I done talk to people while they in cars, one person in the bathroom. Trust me, it'd be some of the most interesting
like leaned over like a goblin. Look at me.
They were like, where is she at? And look, I done talked to somebody that was it. The funniest one was she was doing the interview in the parking lot, and the security decided they want to fuck with her while we in the middle of the interview. So, and then she had to drive around, and then we ended up having to stop the interview because she kept arguing with the security guards or what have you. But trust me, life as a podcast shouldn't be so rough. So, so how you doing tonight, beautiful?
Doing good. Yourself?
I am doing wonderful. I've had a busy day of podcasting. All from the 9 to 5, but shit, not all ever from the podcast. I knocked out what I think 1, 2, I think 4 shows today. You my 4th.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah. Because I love doing this or what have you. And what I love, the thing I wanted to talk to you about, because see, you is a perfect example of what I've been saying. Now, I just want to clarify some things before we get started. You do content, but you do not do boy-girl sex content. Am I correct?
Well, the vast majority of my experiences as an in-person provider, I'm a dominatrix. I don't record or offer any explicitly sexual services. So no full service, no boy-girl, no girl-girl, no solo masturbation, nothing like that. It's more of kink and fetish exploration.
Now, the reason why I say that is, see, females, y'all think that you can just do that. No, they think that them doing solos, and doing it for a long period of time, that they can continuously make money, good money grow without them having to suck a fucking dick on camera. I said this. In order for a female to last 10 years in this business and be successful and her money grows without her having to touch a dick, well, touch a dick that inserts her. Let's make that clarify, because we do have Peg Bundys in the world. She better do some fetish that's on the extreme side and dominatrix stuff. And there you go. Hello, this is who I'm talking to. So for you, before we go into my particulars, what made you become a dominatrix?
Well, first off, to address a little funny comment that you made earlier, technically, you do have to touch the penis. For example, if you're sounding, so you're sticking a metal rod in it, you're touching it. To get it into a cage, you got to touch it. To put a urethral spreader in it, you have to touch it. So even I touch the penis. So.
Hold on. With that being said, it's time to smoke it over, people. Welcome to the Smokers Lounge. You know who I am. I'm Cameron Over Southern Chat, aka the poor rap star. Find all my links with one link, allmylinks.com/poor rap star. For a sponsor to tell you about the first one being eroticismmagazine.com. Next up, award-winning blusherotica.com. For you people that love candles, the Kinky Candle Company. And if you need legal help, the Queen of Law, Mitchell Ferrari, links in the description. Also, you can find me 5 days out of the week at fullswatradio.com. at the sgpradio.com when he posts it, and skyhawk@TV.com. Now, I am with a very beautiful, gorgeous lady who's a dominatrix. She's a fetish model, content creator, kink connoisseur, to say the least. So, all you bitch boys, all you pay pigs, assume the position, knees, palms forward, and pay your respects to this goddess as she introduces herself. Tell me who you are, baby.
Oh, well, thank you for all the accolades. I wish I had a pocket-sized version of you to carry around with me all the time. Best hype man ever. I need that introduction every time I walk into a room. Well, hi, I'm Mr. Avon. So to answer your question, so, hindsight is 2020. The older you get, the more you realize, maybe that was sketchy. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. It's nothing short of a miracle I'm alive. So to answer Cliff Notes version, when I was much younger, I had much older boyfriends. Hindsight's 2020. That was maybe a little sketchy, but everything was consensual, no weird traumas, everything's all good. Fast forward. I think I am just barely of legal drinking age, maybe. It's a little sketchy by this point. But I used to frequent the old Hammer and Nails Club down in Miami, and there I met my mentor. And, I met my mentor's mentor, and, long story short, I did what you can akin to a old school tattoo apprenticeship, where you're like shop bitch for X amount of time until, you're in your stripes, and then, you're progressively given more and more responsibility. So, I mean, there's just so much on the origin story.
We got time, baby. We enjoy stories. That's why we bring them on, because we here to hear your story. So go ahead, proceed, dog.
So, the butterfly effect is wild. Just one thing can really change the whole trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
So this is all Googleable information. You can type this into Google and it will come up. My story will be corroborated here. So, like in typical Miami fashion, we can't have anything nice. The Hammer Nails Club was the first, and only in that particular area that I knew of, open for commercial play. But that unfortunately came to a halt when the owner killed a girl and dumped her body in an alley.
Wow.
Yeah, that was horrible. But the really sketchy part there is I was one decision away from possibly being in her shoes. It's reported that she was his friend, but from what I understand, she would also frequent there, and she was going to do some sort of apprenticeship or something. She also lived with him. That was a really sketchy situation for her, but alas, when I met that man, just every hair in my body and my flight or fight instincts kicked in, and I knew that I needed to GTFO. Just something about my gut just told me no. Fast forward about a year later, I'm in my apprenticeship with my mentor, and I see it on the front cover of the Miami Herald. I see his dead eyes, and I knew I had dodged a bullet. So yeah, that's why there's no commercial spaces available in Miami. That was not in my bingo cards. I thought they were going to get busted for fraud of some kind, maybe tax evasion, not murder. That was not on my bingo cards.
I don't think it's on anybody's bingo card, to be honest with you. Damn.
Yeah. But yeah, so thankfully I met my mentor there. So it was kind of a funny story because you know, it was, I think, prior to Halloween or around that time. It was a themed event that they were having there. I think it was like a masquerade or costume party kind of thing. I see her from a distance. She's dressed in an all red latex devil suit. So I went up to her to compliment her. And, default language, English, go up to someone. It's the US, you speak to them in English. She just gave me a stank look. I'm like, no. I refuse to believe she's a bitch. I refuse to believe that. So I'm like, all right, let's try the next one. I'm like, oh, me encanta cómo está vestida. And then she immediately lit up, and I knew it was a language barrier, not that she was a bitch. So, we got to talking, and, she explained that that's what she did professionally. She was a pro dom, and, she told me basically, if you're serious, here's my number, contact me. I think it was the following Tuesday she told me to contact her because she was going to be on a party thing all night. So good for her. I did contact her, and then she gave me the address to what was her dungeon space that she had converted in basically an apartment into a dungeon space. And yeah, I showed up. She had a personal sub of hers and had a bunch of implements laid out and was basically like, well, pick your switch. And I reckon what I did she liked, and she thought I had potential. And a year-ish later, then she figured I was ready to get Spartan kicked out of the nest. So, it was a gradual process, obviously, so I started off with her teaching me how to clean every possible implement and every possible material, textile, surface you could possibly think of. So I went from cleaning detail to setting up, and then setting up and breaking down scenes for her. And then after that, then I recall the next step being I would sit in and watch during some of her sessions. Of course, if, the sub was okay with it. Then participating very lightly. So, for example, like handing her certain implements, like setting up certain equipment for her, so on and so forth. Then participating while supervised, then supervised sessions, then full doubles. So we were both on equal playing field. And then after that, once she deemed that I was competent enough, she was like, yeah, just do your own thing now.
Now, what's interesting about that is, shouts out to Lorenzo, fellow Dom, and even talking to my girl Bella DeJour. That's the old school way. You feel me? And as that's the way it's supposed to be, especially if you're talking about being a pro dom, that someone brings you in to the world, train you on being a dom. You know what I'm saying? Because technically, what people don't realize is you're actually the role of submissive in this. Even though you learn to be a dom, you're submissive. See, people don't catch that. You feel where I'm coming from?
Every apprenticeship is different.
Yeah, period. But like I said, but it's kind of like, even for what you're talking about, it's similar to what they were talking about. You feel me? So for you, how was it you going it that way versus these girls out here, they just doing it? And some of them got lucky. You get what I'm coming from?
Well, there are certain things that you should not do without proper training. You could seriously mess somebody up if you're just sticking a metal rod in their urethra without knowing what you're doing. Just
Back from a small commercial break, you feel me? We're just gonna leave it at that. So now back to what you were saying about sticking the pole into the urethra, or what have you, and what you were saying with
that was just the first example that came to mind. There are many activities that you need to know what you're doing, have at least some sort of training, some sort of basic idea as to what you're doing, because a lot of these things can go horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah, for what you're
So,
talking about, dominatrix wise, because like I said, it to me it was like this. It was more the mental aspect than any of the physical. You know, and I think a lot of people don't really get that when it comes to BDSM, being a dominatrix, dealing with a submissive, the energy exchange, the yeah, like I said, the energy exchange, plus the dynamic that people think it's mental, but it's not a mental. It's not a mental orgasm that you really get. It's more of a, excuse me, it's not a physical orgasm you get. It's more of a mental one. You get what I'm saying?
oh, for sure. I do agree that there's a strong psychological component, but in many instances, there definitely is a physical component. It
Yeah.
all really depends on, what your interests are, what your boundaries are, how you
Mm-hmm.
choose to conduct yourself. Honestly, there's a myriad of factors that come into
Mm-hmm.
play there. Not every Dom has, the same boundaries. Not every Dom
Mm-hmm.
has the same skill set. So, for example, and understandably so, many Doms want nothing to do with like needle play,
Yeah.
blood. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong there, like
Mm-hmm.
bloodborne pathogens. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't clean correctly, oh my God, in a dirty dungeon, someone who never sanitizes their sounds. Can you imagine getting
Mm-hmm.
sounded with a dirty sound? That is at best a UTI, at worst, I don't even want to think, like a horrible kidney infection that sends you to the hospital for 2 weeks for IV antibiotics.
Yeah.
Just
It's
yikes.
it's trust me, it's more to it than just what you read and saw in 50 Shades of Grey, people.
Oh
It's
no,
more
there are many scenarios in which you do need hands-on training. Like,
yeah.
if we're going to go, for example, into the medical field, you need to do your clinicals, you need to do your rotations, you need to
Mm-hmm.
have hands-on actual
Mm-hmm.
experience, because theory is all great and dandy, but if you don't actually know what you're doing for best practices and safe practices, it's a little sketchy.
So you have done medical.
Certain types of medical play. There are some types of medical play that I'm just not super experienced with and not super
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. Therefore, I won't do them on my own. I'll do them under the supervision of a much more experienced Dom.
Mm-hmm.
So I am fortunate to have several Doms who are 2 decades my senior, whom I can ask and can be supervised by if need be. Like for example, when I started doing electro sounding,
Mm-hmm.
I had so many questions when it came to electro play,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't if you don't know what you're doing, I mean, that's a double whammy right there. It's not just the fact that you're sounding someone, but you're also using electricity.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
can go wrong here.
See. So you, let me make this clear, Smoker. She's a dominatrix that is very diverse in her dominatrixness. Because she just said electric play. I ain't heard too many dominatrix talk about that, people. Yeah, shouts
Oh,
out to my
really?
man Dark. Yes, yes. You even talk about medical. Because we never talked about medical, the medical the medical kink on my show, which involved the needles, which involved a whole bunch of stuff, even to the point where I remember one dude had where the girl was, I guess, had I forgot what the hell he was doing. It's something to do with an enema, I guess. I don't know, but but you get my drift or what have you.
Hmm.
So when it comes to the business of being a pro dom, how much does it benefit to be that diverse within it? You get what I'm saying?
Well, like with everything, there's pros and there's cons. There's never a con without a pro. There's never a pro without a con. Um, certain equipment is required. It depends. Do you tour? Do you not tour? Do you travel? Do you not travel? Do you have a dedicated dungeon in call? Are you a hotel provider? Do you rent other providers in calls? Like there's a lot of things to think about. Like, how am I going to safely and discreetly transport all of this equipment and all of these things? Can I even transport them? Can I fly with them? Can I not fly with them? What is this airline's policy? Can I go international? Do I have to stay domestic? So many questions.
So
many questions.
I'm gonna ask you this. I know I'm just asking because I enjoy this. How much do you enjoy a slave or a submissive that don't have too much limits?
Well, I believe that everybody should have limits.
Yeah.
I personally have a fair amount of limits. For example, I do not like scat. No shame, not here to kink shame. Anybody who's into scat in any iteration of the fetish, cool, you do you. Not my thing. That's why I made that funny face when you said enemas, because I require that they do their own enemas prior to our meetings. Because the worst thing that I could imagine is just booty juice all over the place. Just booty juice as far as the eye can see.
So it's safe to say, people, yes, she pegs people. She pegs men. So when it comes to pegging, because
that's the $1 million question, huh?
Yeah. How much of an uptick has it been in these recent couple of years? Because I've seen the uptick, especially from talking to female dominatrix or what have you, about some of their subs that actually asking for this, looking for this, and two, because of course, people, how men think it's gay and okay, whatever. If that would make you sleep at night, if you think that's gay, then okay, it's gay. But but how much has been an uptick of guys asking for that?
Well, to be honest, I haven't noticed a uptick per se. Since the very beginning, that has been, I don't know, like a solid 80%. Yeah, like a solid 80% are interested in some sort of prostate play, whether it be just a simple prostate massage or like full on pegging. I don't know, they could be freaking anal queens. And oh dang, where is it? Huh. Well, it's not easy access right now, but I had this giant plug. I mean, it was even bigger than this thing. Like a giant anal plug. It was bigger than this thing. Not sponsored, by the way. Bigger than this thing. I had gotten it on clearance in some leather shop in Chicago, but I had gotten it as like a conversation piece, like just to put it on the coffee table in the dungeon, conversation starter. I never expected someone to actually plop it down onto the cock box and then sit on it. And then when he got up, it disappeared. Best magic trick I've ever seen. So the gambit runs, to say the least. The vast majority of individuals I've noticed that their eyes are bigger than their buttholes, if you will. Because they'll talk this big game that they want this, they want that, they need it to be this size, they want it that way, they want this, they want to explore that. And then when it comes time to, they can't even take this. So yeah, eyes definitely bigger than the butthole. Lots of that syndrome. No, but in my experience since the get, it's been very pegging heavy or very slut training heavy. I mean, there's a spectrum there. It goes from, an individual who could just be interested in very mild exploration, like a prostate massage, because they've heard that that's like the best experience that they'll possibly have. They're just interested in the sensation. A lot of them confide in me that, perhaps it would be easier in a sense if they did have an attraction towards men, because then it would make it a lot more streamlined and a lot easier to understand for a lot of people, rather than, no, I'm straight, I just like the sensation and I'm turned on when a pretty woman does it, rather than, attempting to be with a man. I'm not attracted to men, I'm not gay. So, it's rather interesting, and a lot of them feel like they can't tell their partner, or they know for certain that they can't tell their partner because there will be adverse consequences, very adverse consequences in their lives. I try not to pry, but the vast majority have families, the vast majority are married, and once you've built a foundation with someone, you don't want to destroy it over something so trivial and frankly dumb.
And see, and two, they can't come to their mate and tell them that's their secret desire because they're afraid of judgment. They're afraid of rejection. Hands down, that's why they come to us. Period, and everything. Because I even had a male pay pig. Which is so funny. He was paying me reparations, wanted me to call him Honky and Cracker. I was like, well, fine, hey, you paying, hey, let's go. You know what I'm saying? So now here's the other part
Oh,
of it.
you got stories, don't you?
Oh yeah, I got stories, baby. I did cuckold shit, all that. What are you talking about? I done had a slave.
Look at you.
So yeah, that's why I say I just live in an area that I can't indulge in my BDSM side as a dom or even swinging, period. Because it's too cookie cutter here, and the people are too scary. You know what I'm saying? It's not a strong enough community or open enough community. I guess because I'm in the Bible Belt. Because North Carolina, well, then again, North Carolina would last for everything. Would last to get the lotto, so that should tell you something. So, but here's the question I want to get to. Because, like I said, you are also a fetish. Like I said, because we talk about content here, and content is part of the game because it helps with marketing yourself. Plus it's another way of making money, what have you. So, with being a dominatrix, with your content, the fetish, the foots, because she sharpened pretty feet, how much do you take into account? Because a lot of domination don't take into account the sex appeal part of it. You know what I'm saying? Because what also attracts, let's keep it 100, many opportunities with submissives and slaves is attractability. You know what I'm saying? The look, the image, or what have you. So for you, how much do you put into the marketing of your dominance?
Well, yes, you're correct. For the most part, the vast majority of men, I would say, which the vast majority of my clientele is male, the vast majority of men, I would say, are very visual creatures. So, they judge you with the eyes first, and then, then they'll decide if they want to, interact with you and hear what comes out of your mouth. Yeah. So the internet's forever. I think we can agree on that. So I've been very cautious of what I have posted and what I have put out there. I basically try to imagine, am I okay with my family, my future significant other seeing this? If the answer is no, then maybe not. Maybe not. So I do have a very small collection of content out there, and there's more stills than I would say video, but there is enough. If you look, you can find it.
But your videos is pretty much dominatrix stuff. It's not you having sex.
No.
So I mean, to me, it's kind of like, how I gotta put this. I think mama would have no issue, wouldn't have too much issue with seeing you peg a guy or spank a guy and have him run around in, thigh-high stockings in the heel more so than you getting railed on by a dude.
Oh, for sure. Those in my life, they all know what I do and they think it's hilarious. Like it's a bit of almost like a party trick. Like the
Mhm.
novelty never wears off, especially because I've been described as having like gray man syndrome. Funny enough that I'm wearing a gray blanket,
Yeah.
but I've been described as having like gray man syndrome where I can
Mhm.
kind of just blend in and just kind of slide around in any
Mhm.
city that I tour in, any area. Um, I look ambiguous enough to where I can pass for a lot of different things. I
Yeah.
can, I can kind of mold and be whatever I need to be in a certain situation. So that has lent itself well. It has lent
Mhm.
itself well to travel. It has lent itself well to essentially being the person that the
Mhm.
sub needs me to be.
Mhm.
We end up in our sessions, we end up working through some issues, some self shame, often trauma
Yeah.
caused by a myriad of things. And I
Yeah.
mean, at the lightest end, I would say, rejection
Mhm.
has, cut deep for many. And at the worst, it's been, attempting. Oh, there we go. Hi.
Mhm.
Sorry. That's what I get for touching the table with my sketchy setup. There we go. Um, at the worst case scenario, I've heard absolutely gut-wrenching stories where, we stopped play completely and I just wrapped them
Mhm.
up in a blankie and
Mhm.
they just poured their heart out. And a lot of
Mhm.
people have told me that. I've never told anybody this. And I mean, you would be just absolutely shocked how common abuse is, how
Yeah.
common just these horror stories are. You know, in every capacity from childhood to spousal to
Mhm.
I've even heard stories of individuals who were abused by people that they paid to play with.
Yeah.
Some doms that have no business being in this industry, just no respect for boundaries, no respect for consent, just absolutely just railroading people's
Mhm.
safe words and just doing absolutely horrible
Because
things.
to me, it's once again it goes back to mental. Because when I hear about doms like that, doms and dominations like that, hurt people. So they're using the game no different than guys that right now calling themselves content creators wanting to get free pussy. They using the lifestyle to take out life frustrations, past frustrations on people that don't deserve it.
Oh, for sure.
That you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, it's people. I think the first mistake that doms and dominators don't understand is submissives have the most power in this situation because it takes more power to submit.
Well, they should.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if the sub, for example, if you have established safe words and the sub calls it, you need to respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately they allow you to have the power. They give you power.
Mm-hmm.
So to take something so precious, to take that trust that they're giving you and
Mm-hmm.
just shit all over it, that's really shitty. Like I can't get behind that.
And see, they don't understand it's ultimate trust because it's okay. It's like this. Why do people think sex and BDSM goes hand in hand when it's not the case?
It can, but it's not often the case. I would reckon it's perhaps, misinformed stereotypes. I mean, oftentimes oftentimes stereotypes are no more than pattern recognition, but
Mhm.
sometimes they're, a gross misrepresentation of an entire group of people.
The reason why I
And
ask that because maybe because the image that we see is always the man is the dominant.
mm,
And society plays it to where he dominates her, she's submissive, he gets the sex. Because, like I said, even to the point, if I sit here and tell somebody that I had a male pay pit, they'll try to say I'm gay. No, I'm not. BDSM is unisex, people. Stop playing. Now, you can have same-sex submissives, damn it. But that's my point. You get what I'm saying? I
Oh
don't have to
no, I
have sex with
100%
this.
understand.
Yeah, I don't have to have sex with this man for him to submit to me. You don't have to have sex with a woman for her to submit to you. You don't have to have sex with a man to submit to him. So to me, that's why I said, when people sit here and think that sex is connected to BDSM, to me, it's the wrong thought process. Because actually, let's be honest, majority of submissive don't want to fuck. Somebody, actually, if you fuck them, you lost them as a submissive, actually, technically.
Well, I mean, it depends what you define as fucking, because some people would say that pegging
Him
is
fucking
fucking.
you. Him fucking you.
Oh, okay.
We ain't talking about you fucking him. No. Him fucking you.
Well, I keep my relationships very compartmentalized. People who I play with in a dom capacity, I would not cross that over. But different, as I said, different doms have different boundaries and different standards. I've noticed what I have noticed in the last few years, not necessarily an uptick in pegging, because that was always the case for me. But what I have noticed in the last few years is an uptick in what I would call fetish escorts, calling themselves doms.
Speak to it. Let's talk about it.
No judgment, no judgment. This is not coming from a place of judgment. I'm just saying that I have noticed in the last 4 years, maybe, since around COVID, so since around 2020, I've noticed that there's been a pretty high uptick, and now the word dom, DOMME, to some people it's synonymous with, a fetish escort, and that is not the same in my experience.
No, it's not.
I was brought in a rather old guard way, where I did learn how to do certain things from experienced individuals. I had almost like a probation period. I had to show that I was competent, and I was always under the impression that there was a markable difference between a dom, DOMME, aka dominatrix, and a fetish escort. A fetish escort, in my experience, catered to certain fetishes and could either be dominant or could be submissive. Usually the individual is a switch so that they can provide both services, but they do provide full service as well.
Now, which is interesting because it's funny. This is just my opinion. If she provides full service, so people gonna say full service, she's sucking and she's fucking, she ain't a fetish escort, she's a fucking escort. She just happened to do fetish. You get what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
Because the reason why I say that is that it was always, they were trying to mix the dominatrix with the escorting. And I even said that you can't. Because if the cops ran in on the dominatrix, he can't take her to jail because what are you gonna do? He's consenting to getting his ass spanked. He ain't gonna charge her for assault. You feel what I'm saying? But if he rolls in on the escort, that's a totally different story. It's solicitation of sex.
Yeah, with a dominatrix, depending on the state, it gets a little. It's definitely in the gray area.
Yeah, but they ain't gonna trust me. From my experience, they ain't even gonna fuck with you. Especially if they look at your ad, they're gonna be like, "Oh shit, she got paddles." No, we don't want her. She good. No,
I've never had any issue.
No, I take that back. They might actually call her for a session.
You have no idea. You have no idea how many times, like, I genuinely, wonder. It's like, do people? Oh, sorry, dropped you again. Oopsies, there you go. Sometimes I genuinely wonder, do people even read? Because and
Yeah.
then I think, are these cops trying to entrap me, trying to offer me X amount of money for full service? I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, I don't do that. And I block, or I give them some sort of sassy response like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm sorry, I only see people who are literate. But I mean, I've never had any issues like that. But funny enough, I do not really see that many people. I think I've seen maybe two individuals who were law enforcement
Mm-hmm.
throughout my entire time, but no, I just don't attract cops. I don't.
Oh no, no, because like I said, it's. But you did have had some cops. I tried to tell you, people in position of power, many of them like to be dominated. It's just facts. It's their escape. It's their,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. They live to serve because they're always being served. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure. I have noticed that C-level executives, lawyers, and surgeons really tend to like me. So, but not law enforcement though. I don't get law enforcement. I don't get military. Though I do have plenty of comrades who see a
Mm,
ton of law enforcement, a ton of military. I just don't attract that individual. Who knows why? Perhaps it's how I look, perhaps it's how I carry myself, perhaps it's how I speak,
mm,
perhaps it's that I've been told that I come across as rather standoffish and cold in
mm,
correspondence.
mm,
So, I mean, I encounter so many time wasters. I keep it very brief. I keep it very professional, very to the
mm,
point. Like either shit or get off the pot. Like, no,
mm.
no,
Well, I mean,
no.
as a dominatrix, that's how we kind of gotta be. You feel me? Because I mean, no, seriously, it.
No, I
I mean, trust me. I'm a man, and I get unsolicited dick pictures, and I have to remind them I don't fuck dudes. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you want me to fuck you, I would gladly strap on with you. You know what I'm saying? Take the dildo and fuck the shit out you, but my dick ain't touching you. Period. But the point being, the point being is, when they know you a dom and they know you do porn, it's like, yeah, we get the female treatment.
yeah,
Dick
I
pictures
I
and the time wasters
actually
too.
yeah, I actually have a folder of like my favorite dick pics that I've received throughout the years. Just the most ridiculous looking ones, the biggest, most veiny, girthy, offensive looking ones. And whenever I get an unsolicited dick pic, I send one back.
How does it feel, you son of a bitch? So now I'm gonna ask you this. Um, I always had this conversation with the ladies that are dominatrix, and I mean true domination. I'm not talking about that bullshit that these content creators be trying to do now. That their submissives feel that if they see a dominatrix get fucked, that she is a submissive in that situation.
Hmm.
Now, me, the smokers know how I feel upon that, you know.
Sorry.
So, what is your thoughts about that when you hear that?
Um, well, I've heard because I've had similar conversations with subs and different slaves and whatnot, just in passing, like before, like while we're setting up or afterwards as part of our aftercare, we'll just talk and
Mm,
relax, and depending on how much time they have, is how I'll steer the conversation, whether
mm,
they have enough time to really be able to come down. So I'll let them, and I'll encourage them to like reminisce and rejoice on
mm,
what we've done. If not, if I know that they need to like take a shower and get out the door, like
mm,
I'll start talking about like, oh, so like what are you gonna do afterwards to like bring them back? Because a lot
mm,
of people when they go into subspace, they tend to disassociate's not the right term, but they almost like disconnect, and a lot of
yeah.
them have physical reactions, like they get cold, they
Mm,
shake, some of them their tummies start to hurt.
mm,
So I do my best to bring them back as quickly as
yeah.
possible and
The
get them back.
aftercare.
yeah, get them back into the right headspace in order to face the world. But what was the question again? I'm sorry, I went on a tangent.
So no, if a submissive sees you being fucked, does that mean that you're submitting when you're having sex?
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. No, it depends on what is occurring. Obviously, like
Yeah.
it's hard to say that you're necessarily submitting if you have, I don't know, let me just paint a picture. Like you've flogged your plaything and then you put him into 4-point restraints and then you use him like a dildo. It's hard to argue that you are necessarily submitting to him per
Mm-hmm.
se. But if you're tied down onto a spanking bench and you're having like a 5-guy gangbang ran on you, then
Mm-hmm. Is but wait a second, is that submitting? Because the reason why I say that, right? Because the argument, it's not the argument, but the argument that these girls, the dominatrix that do porn, have with a submissive is that because I'm being fucked, I'm choosing to fuck. I'm not being in a submissive role during the sex. You know what I'm saying? Because just because I got you doggy style missionary doesn't mean that you're submitting to me. You feel what I'm saying?
yeah,
Or
not necessarily.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? That in their mind, her being fucked is her submitting. And I guess in their mind, what they're losing the fantasy per se. So why would a submissive think that when that's not necessarily the case? You get what I'm coming from?
Yeah, I mean, it all really depends on context. And I mean, in some cases and in some scenarios, I've noticed, traveling throughout the US and being from Miami. Miami's a very insular little bubble,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
coated in a nice thick layer of machismo.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of men in different parts of the country, and I've noticed this as well in Boston,
Mm-hmm.
they have this very particular vision of women. You're either a Madonna or you're a whore. You fall into
Mm-hmm.
one of two camps. You're
Yeah.
either a woman they respect or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a lot of cases, there's almost a very fine line that a lot of individuals tread, I should say, where they're clearly sexual and erotic in nature and what they're doing, but
Mm-hmm.
they get to remain somewhat chaste in the eyes of their sub because they're not actually engaging in any sort of actual intercourse.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends on the internalized view that the submissive or the slave has of females. Like, do they view us as autonomous individuals who it's all about nuance and there's, context and all of these things? Or are we basically fetish vending machines and we're either Madonnas or whores and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot?
See, people, that now, for some of you psychology majors, you welcome to class. There you go. There you go. She just told you something you can take with you to your class. When you go back, to college and everything. So now I'm gonna ask you this: how do the fetish play into this? Because, like I said, you do a lot of foot fetish. So it's kind of like this to me. When it comes to your content, do you do the foot fetish to generate money with the content? You know what I'm saying? Or you also do it also to attract submissives that are into the foot fetish. You know what I'm saying? To where you could see them face to face. Because let's be real with 100. The business in dominatrix, the business in BDSM is in person a lot of times. Period.
Well, it depends who
Because
you ask. I agree with you, but it depends who you ask. And in my case, it's the latter of the two that you proposed.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So, so the desire for the foot worshiping and foot adorating sub comes before the content. So the content essentially is a means to an end, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Yeah. So because like it's just funny because you just sit back and you just see all the feet pictures.
It is the most common fetish.
Yeah.
And I was actually really surprised given, all of the information that I had ascertained during my apprenticeship. I was under the impression that, so follow my train of thought here, my very naive train of thought. I figured since, in terms of numbers, it's the most common fetish. I figured that would be like 90% of my bookings. I figured, oh, they're all going to be feet related. No, that has not been my experience. Perhaps it's because I have noticed that foot individuals, they tend to like things that are unique. They tend to like what is strange and unusual per se. They tend to like things that are a little more anomalous. And in terms of my feet, they are as common gets. Like a size 7. I mean, high arches, but not freakishly high. Long toes, but not freakishly long. There's nothing truly that really sets them apart. Like, for example, if I had size 18 feet, now that really grabs some attention. But I don't. Alas, I don't. And being in South Florida, I have noticed that, especially Latin men, there are so many Latin men that I wouldn't say that they're DL because they do not like men, but a lot of them are so interested in prostate pleasure, but they just can't get over, like I said, that veneer of machismo that coats everything.
Yeah. Interesting. Because you didn't hear, because I never hear anyone really talk about pegging and the Latino community. I mean, I had the conversations about, of course, we know white men and the uptick of brothers, but not too much on the Latino side.
Well, I would say I used to see a lot more Latin because I was based out of Miami for many, many years, but that's not necessarily the case anymore since I'm based out of Palm. Now my demographic tends to skew a lot more white. But for many, many years, I would say like a solid 90% of my demographic was Latin, just given the fact that I was based out of Miami, like some sort of Latin. Brazil is included in there. So, people coming in and out for business, people who were there on vacation, plenty of one-offs that just wanted to try something. And since they were in Miami, figured I would. But in terms of like the steady clientele, when I was in Miami, 90% of them were Latin, and the vast majority were interested in some sort of prostate pleasure. But yeah, it was always really interesting how, and this is just my pure anecdotal experience. Other people's experiences may be different, but I have noticed that Latin men needed to reiterate plenty of times that they weren't gay. I'm like, who are you trying to convince? Because I mean, you have me convinced from the get. Like, are you trying to convince yourself? Is there somebody else in the room? Like, but I've noticed that very rarely is that the case with white men. White men don't feel the need for the most part to, constantly reiterate that they're not gay when it comes to that, which is interesting. I'm not quite sure. Besides, my
I'm not even going to front. It's when it comes to white men, there's a lot of things that they're into that they have no shame about it, especially behind closed doors, But brothers of melon, no matter what melon, we get behind closed doors, we still got issues. No, I'm not gay. No, but see, that's the point. As a man, anything we are taught anything to do with our ass is gay. even if she tongues it. Me myself, now, I'm not gonna let you put a finger in there. You ain't gonna put no dildo, but you can tongue it all day. Hey, we can play that way. But like I said, we are taught that anything with a butthole is gay.
Why would you say that that is? Is it a similar experience to the Latin experience?
Well, the reason why I think it is this, right? We associated with gay because that's the only way that a man can be fucked. It meaning that he can be penetrated other than his mouth. So
I see.
And because it's a dick,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, and it's a male sex organ, we constitute it as gay. Now, the reason why I say it's not gay, because if it's a female that's wearing a strap on, or using a finger, then what's the difference between that you getting a prostate exam from a female doctor? You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's not a gay act. Is it an act that is normal for a man? No, not really. Period. Even though despite my thoughts about what happened back in the day before there was Christianity, where you think the dudes were sticking their dicks at before a pussy came around. I just digress. I'm just saying.
I reckon that perhaps he who made that who conceptualized that was not a very creative individual. I reckon that us being creative, depraved monkeys was not in their bingo cards.
Oh no,
they could not see the dildo coming. They did not see the dildo coming.
So to me, it's kind of like that's the reason why I think dudes associate that. But also this generation is becoming one because we got cell phones. There you go, social media. They're becoming a little bit more open sexually. They just ain't got the maturity with it, like our older heads are, like older heads do. Period. So you can even tell that from the girls that call themselves femdoms and findoms and all that. How you call yourself a findom and you ain't even got a pay pig?
Well, to be fair, we all got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And financial domination can be a legitimate, respectable and respected activity to engage in a safe, sane and consensual way.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of individuals just think that they're just gonna run up in, call themselves findoms, make a quote unquote bag and just run out with minimal effort, if any. It's like, if you want that to be your niche, then you need to cultivate that and you need to garner that. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, you reap what you sow.
So now, I'm about to ask a question that I don't think anybody ever asks as a dom or dominatrix. How do you handle losing a slave or submissive?
Oh, well, it depends. I mean, 2020, 2021 took quite a few of them away from me, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Especially since my demographic tends to be older. Mm-hmm. Not quite sure why. Maybe, I mean, there's a bunch of different theories that I've heard from different people that have proposed that question as to why my demographic skews so much older. Mm. But alas, I digress. So, the main way, unfortunately, that I've lost subs and I've lost dedicated slaves has been to, the inevitable.
Yeah.
Death. So there's no coming back from that one, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
And probably the most interesting one was when I had this. I mean, he was a client, but he was a very, very good regular. And I've been seeing him for so many years that I did consider him my friend. And one day I just got reached out by his son to tell me that he had passed away, and his son was under the impression that I was his therapist. So That was interesting. Once the dad passed away, he found out everything. He's like, "Oh, you're his therapist." Mm. Very interesting kind of therapy.
Funny was you find out about your family members when they pass. You
Yeah,
found out
because
they real freaks.
apparently that's how I was saved on his phone. Was I was his therapist. So, but I mean, it was an interesting interaction, but unfortunately, that's the main way I have lost individuals. And I mean, I cope the same way you cope with any death, really. You go through the process of grieving them and, you remember them fondly and,
Yeah.
I have, lost individuals because they've moved away and they don't like virtual. Like we still stay in touch, but it's not like it used to be because they were looking for, in-person connections. A lot of them I, provided them with stellar references and, hoped for the best. And a lot of them have told me that they have found, ongoing dynamics in their area that actually work out for them. And whenever I do tour, if I do tour in their area, I see them. So that's nice. I don't think I've ever had, like a horrid breakup where it was
Mhm.
just, you know, absolutely horrific. I think the most annoying situations that I've had
Mhm.
are where clients that weren't even super long term or weren't even that serious want to date me.
Mm.
That gets awkward. It's like, why'd you have to make it weird? Why'd you have to make it weird? We had a good thing going and now you ruined it.
Oh my God, I can believe it. So now I have to ask this question because I know there's male talents watching and porn producers, and from looking at your damn pictures, I wouldn't be surprised if anyone would ask. Had you thought about drifting to the point side of things? And would you in the future?
Well, I certainly thought about it when I was much, much younger. So I would say like straight out of high school, like 18, 19, like
Mm-hmm.
before I got into dom work. So I think I was either 21 when I met my mentor or I was 20 with a fake ID. I
I
don't
know damn well to
remember.
stop you. I hope you ain't talking about your age and how you look now. Woman, please. Not for the pictures
No,
I
no, no,
got, but saying
no.
what I'm looking at right now. Shit.
No, no, no. I'm giving you a timeline as to like when I was thinking about possibly doing porn because
Okay.
I believe it's Brazzers that has their headquarters in Fort
Yeah.
Lauderdale.
Yeah.
And many, many years ago, when I was considering that, they were holding auditions in Fort Lauderdale.
Mhm.
So I had thought about it. And again, the butterfly effect, one thing going wrong
Yeah.
changed the course of my life. I missed my train, and then the next train had gotten delayed. So I
Uh,
wasn't able to get there.
mm.
So that just kind of made me be like, well, maybe I shouldn't do it. And then maybe once I turn 21, if I still want to do it, then I'll do it. And once I turned 21, I definitely didn't want to do it anymore. I was like, damn, I'm glad I didn't because the internet's forever. Wow, who would have thought the internet's forever? So yeah, just like I avoided Mr. Dead Eyes, Mr. Serial
Mm.
Killer. I mean, once you look at those dead eyes, you know that
Yeah.
that wasn't his first victim. Just
Yeah.
how I avoided him, same thing happened to where
Mm.
it just didn't work out for me. Um, to join that industry. But is it something that I would consider in the future? I mean, who knows, man? You would have asked high school me, oh, do you think that you're going to be a dominatrix 10 years down the... No, no, I didn't think that. No.
Because the reason why I asked because I'm sorry is if if you ask me would she be successful in porn as much she is in being a dominatrix, I would give you a resounding hell yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Fuck yes, because it was to the point that, like you said, it didn't surprise me that you get more older men than you would younger men with the dominatrix because older men are more into being submissive than younger men are. I kind of noticed that. Because like I said before, as you get older, this men and women, your sexual taste change anyway. So, and you gain more sexual discovery because you get to know your body more, you get to know who you are more, and you get to a point where you kind of don't really give a fuck with so much anymore. Period. So,
Yeah.
and two, they want a young girl to just dominate them. They're sexy than a motherfucker. That's because don't let the because you might look mild mannered right now. I've seen the body.
Um, so I do agree with your point there, but I would slightly disagree in saying that the older folks are more kinky. Because, for example, my
Yeah.
travel companion, she's like 20 years my senior,
Mm,
so she's got the MILF appeal.
yeah.
So her clientele skews way younger. So
Yeah.
we have an ongoing joke that that's what I have to look forward to, because
Mhm.
several times many of her clients have walked in. I'm like, damn, he's hot. Like, wow. Wow.
So
And she's been like, yeah, look, that's what you gotta wait for, just wait a cool 20 years and this is what's waiting for you. The young
see,
hot ones then want you.
yeah, because that's the beauty about also this business is that it is ageless. Because as you grow older, it's funny because as she grow older, her clientele gonna get younger.
Yeah, we've had that conversation and it's really
See,
funny.
no, because I'm gonna be real with you. Because just keep it 100, 40 and 30 don't look the same anymore. So
No.
I can't tell the 20-year-olds from the 30-year-olds and the 40-year-olds, period. So I automatically assumed that you are in the middle category. You're technically not. That is scary, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, there's a lot to be said there. For a variety of reasons, especially, being from such a plasticky place like
Yeah,
Miami, where, to a certain degree, cosmetic procedures are not just encouraged, but expected.
yeah,
I've noticed that, individuals that have started their cosmetic surgery journeys very, very early on in life now look at least 10 years my senior, even though we were in the same graduating class.
mm-hmm.
So that's kind of wild, to see 28, 29 year olds with getting their first facelifts. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop it. Put the Botox down. Stop. So perhaps that's why a lot of individuals appear to be older than they actually are.
Yeah, yeah. So, but like I said, but to me, it's kind of like that. Why that? But see, that explains once again the older gents. It's like because you're a grown ass woman, and they know that you're younger. So she's a grown ass young girl. It's just like my ass is like the youngest I would date. She had to be a grown ass 28. Grown ass 28. I'm about to turn 50. That means, damn it, you got your shit together at 28.
What do you mean by got her shit together? Like, owns her own home together,
career
or like,
career life, know where she's going, where she's heading in life, because it one like just like I said, just like sexual taste change woman taste. I I want a woman that can stimulate my mind just as much as my body.
fair enough, fair
You know what
enough.
I'm saying? Because I'm like I already make this joke. I said, give me a 8 or a 7 with a brain. You can keep that down to dumb as fuck because I can't do nothing with them. that's the foreplay, the conversation. There you go out this piece. That's why I love being a podcaster because I get to mind fuck people. It's beautiful.
Well, not just mindfuck, but almost almost like surgically extract whatever knowledge you want from any individual.
Yeah.
I mean, who needs a neurosurgery degree when you could be a podcaster,
I say it.
Clearly.
I can do the
Feeling
same.
around in people's brains.
That's the beauty of this shit. And the beauty of being a dominatrix.
Yeah.
Because we get to mind fuck these people. You know what I'm saying? Straight up, period. And they want that. And they need it.
Well, not just the mindfuck aspect, but also the aspect that you get to see a side of people that they generally never show anybody else.
Mm-mm.
You get to see a level of vulnerability that rarely others get to see. And also, you get to have very interesting conversations with very interesting people from very unique perspectives.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not just, like I would say like generational patterns and generational curses that, you start to piece together, and, it really makes you think. It makes you wonder.
Oh yeah. So people, we're gonna leave you with that thought because people, trust me, we ain't touched the surface of a lot of shit. So you know what that means? I have to ask this gorgeous goddess the $1,000,000 question. Miss Draven, can I call you a smoke buddy?
Yeah.
So there you go, people. She'll be back on the Smokers Lounge, and we will bring her to the premium smoke room. Now, I'm not guaranteeing she will show boobs because she ain't gonna do that, but I am gonna get her to dress up a little bit more sexy for y'all. You know what I'm saying? And no telling what show we might put on that night. But you know what it is. It's on Loyal Fans. We're talking about 5 premium podcasts for you to enjoy, as well as special events. It gets more candid, it gets more provocative, it gets more wild, it gets more crazy. The titties might pop out, dildos might pop out. You don't know unless you subscribe. And for you like Triple X, I got you covered. Go over to the video store in the premium smoke room. You see me put in work as I give ladies the work because big dicks grow in the sticks. That's why they used to call me Big Country. And for my Spotify users, I got a subscription side for you as well. Savage Smoke, where I talk to the industry's top male talents and producers. We give you that real smoke about the porn industry, plus over 400 episodes of you to binge on, ranging from limited podcast series that I did in the past, premium smoke podcast episodes that are not on Loyal Fans, as well as special episodes that I'll be doing over there in 2025. And trust me, it'll be worth you subscribing. So whether you want to be a premium smoker, or you want some savage smoke, or you want both, either way, subscribe. Now, Miss Draven, can you tell everybody where they can find you, spend money on you, book you, all that good stuff?
You can find me on Twitter at Yes Miss Draven, and all of my contact information and all of my links are there.
No doubt, people. So, what did you smoke over? What did you learn from this wonderful episode? Well, I gave you a look inside the mind of dominatrix. That it's more than what you see on TV. It's more than what you read in the books. You just can't simply because I feel like being a dom call yourself a dom. It's a certain mentality, mind state, and persona that you must take on. Like Waldo Emerson said, we must wear the mask. Yes, we do wear the mask. Wear the mask for our submissives. See, because people don't realize this training that goes on both ways. The submissive teaches us to be the perfect master or dominate, and we teach them to be the perfect submissive and slave. It is a marriage born in chaos with some order to it. You feel me? It's a mental aspect. See, it's a reason why I identify with the Sith and not the Jedi, because Siths are more dominatrix than Jedi is. And I don't feel like going into all of that. Y'all have to go to another episode for me to break that down for you to understand. But What it means is that just like the Sith looks for apprentice, for the apprentice to one day become good enough that it will take its master out. We are here to train, to soothe, to help, to medicate, to clinically, well, I ain't gonna say clinically, I ain't gonna go there. Be that psychiatrist, be that friend, be that whatever, to our submissive to that person, because they're looking to serve. And we're here to service them. You feel me? Because you can sit here and say being a dominatrix is sex work, but it's not about the sex. And that's where everyone fucks up that wants to do this, that gets it wrong. It's not about the sex. What it's about is energy. Energy exchange. You feel me? Just like when they look at her picture, a submissive feels the dominant energy coming from that picture, thus attracts them to her. Because let me make this clear. We never choose our submissive, they chooses us. If you don't understand that first rule of being a dominatrix, you don't need to be a dominatrix or a dom. So with that being said, people, you know how we end these things all day, every day. Life is a learning experience. What's the point of the experience if you haven't learned anything? Smoke this over. Ms. Draven, tell everyone good night. Yeah.